we'd be remiss if we did not bring up the whole Colorado thing.
Yeah, that's where we have to start. Yes.
We have to start. And I know it has been the prevailing narrative all throughout the college football offseason. Deion Sanders and the mass roster turnover. And what is this going to look like when the rubber finally meets the road? We actually got some answers on that front. The answer was it looked pretty damn good, Dan.
All things considered, for week 1 on the road against what we perceive in this very moment as a tough opponent, yes, questions were answered, absolutely answered. What it means for the entire season, that conversation is yet to be had by the two of us, but holy wow, Ty.
I mean, we made so many jokes about the fact that Fox spent so much of its energy and I'm presume marketing budget pumping this game up as game of the week, most interesting game of the year. It wasn't not the most interesting game of the young year. It was the most interesting game of the week, to say the least. 45-42, Colorado wins in a bit of a shootout. Shedeur Sanders with the stat line to end all stat lines, 510 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. An unbelievable effort from him. 4 receivers went over 100 yards, including both Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn Jr., both of whom, by the way, had 11 grabs apiece. So there are a number of different ways that we can look at this. Obviously, going to Fort Worth, squaring off against TCU, national runner-up from a year ago. That's a quality opponent, even if they were ranked 17th to start, even if they were dealing with a fair amount of their own roster turnover. It's clear that TCU's got some work to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
But I do think the point that kept coming up in my mind as I was watching this game is something that we alluded to when we did our previews. It was, gosh, there's so much new with Colorado that the returning production thing sort of goes out the window. And it does make you wonder if, because everybody's new, if it even really matters. And I think we got some clarity around that. This didn't seem like a team that was out of sync. Obviously, they've got some of their own work to do on defense, Dan, but all that being said, they had more than enough firepower, I think, to be extremely plucky, at the least in the Pac-12 around the country.
Yeah, it's to me a question, or it was a question of, can they hang, right? Are they built to hang? They can more than hang. Absolutely. Colorado, given the level of athlete, especially on offense. Look, we're bearing the lead here. You mentioned the receivers, you mentioned Shedeur Sanders, but in terms of consistent game-breaking ability, Dylan Edwards.
And Dylan Edwards, yeah. Sure.
Dylan Edwards, just in terms of like the home run hitting, the all-purpose weaponry, at one point, if you remember, committed to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yep, flipped over to Colorado, yeah.
Flipped to Colorado, immediately utilized magnificently by Sean Lewis, who came over from Kent State. And to speak to TCU, Chandler Morris at times looked apprehensive, was a playmaker, absolutely, spread the ball around. They kind of pushed Colorado around on the ground at times. And I just figured they were going to lean more into that in the second half as it was going back and forth to sort of control a clock that was moving faster than ever, obviously, with the new clock rule. And TCU sort of went to the air a little bit more than I thought they would. Kendall Briles decided on that. I don't know. It's easy to question, and there were opportunities for them to put the game away, it seemed. But, man, Travis Hunter going 100-plus snaps. Tonight's not the show for the cold water pouring on that situation, but the whole plane, essentially, the whole plane with what he was able to do on defense, that incredible pick at the goal line, smothering defense, stretching TCU's defense. I think the conversation now with Colorado getting Nebraska this coming week and then later on in September, USC and Oregon is, what type of ceiling do they have if they are just playing dangerously? Yeah. And I think the Oregon game is in Eugene and they host USC. If I have my schedule facts straight, it's fascinating. They're going to need to get better along the lines to win more games against quality teams. I still believe, because I ultimately, I think I was more down on TCU this offseason than you were. And I still think it's game 1 and TCU has a chance to address some of those deficiencies. But I don't know how you walk away anything but crazy impressed with Deion Sanders and that coaching staff's ability to get everybody on the same page in that road environment, score damn near 50 points in an opener, and walk away with a win. I will raise my hand as Deion Sanders was taking receipts in the presser after. didn't see it coming. And you know
No.
what? TCU couldn't have seen it coming because precisely zero tape existed.
Well,
on this
that was what we
Colorado
said.
team.
Again,
Yeah.
I harken back to what we said on the previews and all throughout, the months building up to this season.
Yeah.
It was really hard to gauge where this team was at. We had no concept for what it was gonna look like. And I think part of the reason why you and I both took the points in this game, it was 20.5, is we didn't know what to expect either from
Right.
Colorado. And for sure, this was an unexpected result. For sure, Colorado could be full on good or at a minimum dangerous. Or it could be a Northwestern situation from a year ago.
Yeah. That's
It
true.
probably isn't.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is, okay?
Yeah.
But after that Northwestern Nebraska game, we came out of that week 0 game in Ireland a year ago saying Northwestern might be pretty good. It might be pretty good this year. That didn't work out. Colorado was not in a similar place, but I would like to see a little bit more data before I'm willing to jump fully in. But it's a great story. Like it is such an unprecedented thing that is going on at Colorado that it's hard not to, unless you're a fan of a rival team like perhaps Nebraska, who they get in week 2. It's hard not to look at that situation and be at least somewhat intrigued by what the heck's going on.
All I can tell you is we probably didn't talk about a Power 5 team less last year than Colorado, and now we're leading with them in week 1. It's pretty good.